It's time now for Health Fitness Broadcast with Sherry, a show covering the hottest fitness topics and latest health issues. And now, here's your host, Sherry Horner.
On today's show, one of Australia's top fitness trainers, Mark Ottobre, also known as Maximus Mark, joins us from Melbourne, Australia. Mark, welcome to the show.
Well, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for letting us in on the scoop of the inside story of fitness in Australia, and not just fitness, but natural bodybuilding. Mark is also known as one of the top trainers in the area of natural bodybuilding. So I want to ask you about some of the people that you have trained in Australia. One of them being Janet. She is a two-time Miss Natural Olympia, or two-time Miss Australia.
Yeah, and a Miss Natural Olympia. She won it for the INBA, and she's one of the Australians for both the A&B and the INBA. She's an amazing lady. She's actually a mum of two. And, she owns a business. Yeah.
Great. Well, I've seen her picture on your website, and when you said she's a mother of two, I'm like, ooh, I was shocked because she looks so great. I mean, mothers do look great, but she looks like she's never, had any kids or anything. She's just, phenomenal.
She's actually won in a few comps, she's won the Best Abs Award a number of times. So she's very, very, very hardworking, and I'd probably say the thing that puts her above everyone else is that her nutrition is just, most female competitors who come and see me have kind of a stigma where they won't eat enough. They think that if they eat, that extra piece of chicken breast, or, if they make their meals smaller, they'll lose more weight, when I find the opposite is true. Making sure that someone meets their nutritional needs accelerates the fat burning process. So Janet does that exceptionally well, is that, she does eat as her body needs, and that obviously enables her to get the results that she does and put on the muscle that she needs to compete at such a high level. So, as I said, she's a very hardworking person. She always wants to improve, always wants to do things right. Very, very, very eager to get in there and lift heavy. Sometimes I always have to pull Janet back in a lot of ways because she tries to lift too heavy. And then obviously forms. I'm very big about keeping form, and if someone's not doing it right, then I tell them to back off the weight and make sure they can do it. And I definitely implement training tempos with Janet as well, get her to slow on the way down. So say, for example, for your listeners who aren't familiar with training tempos, 4 seconds down in a movement, 1 second up. So if she's squatting, it needs to take her 4 seconds down to lower that weight, and then, as fast up as she possibly can lift on the upward phases of movement. But, so we implement tempos, but she is, as I said, very, very hardworking, and trains very hard. And the thing that probably puts her not only in mindset, but in nutrition is exceptional.
Mm-hmm. Janet Kane, is that her last name, Kane?
Yeah, Janet Kane, yeah.
All right, so Miss Natural Olympia and two-time Miss Australia. Now you have another client, two-time Mr. Australia. Tell us about him.
Okay, Tristan, I trained Tristan actually a few years ago now. It's probably maybe 2 years ago. But he first started out by winning the Mr. Victoria. It was actually two comps in the same weekend. There was the Mr. Victoria for the A&B and the Mr. Victoria for the INBA, and he actually won both shows back to back. And mind you, that was actually his first competition, so he did very well. Winning the Mr. Australia, he went on to, winning the Mr. Victoria, he went on to the Mr. Australia, and he won that. And then he competed the year after, and he won the Mr. Queensland, and then he came back down to Melbourne, because he was in Queensland for a little while, and I was doing kind of satellite type stuff with him, and just giving him advice here and there. And then when he came back to Melbourne, getting ready for the Australians, and he won the Australians again, so that was really good. He's won a lot of comps. He's just very, very, again, very hardworking, gets his nutrition right, gets his supplementation right, does everything that's required, and has the right mindset. Very, very, very humble guy as well, but just has the right attitude towards competing and improving.
Mm-hmm. Attitude, and they know where to go to get the best trainer, and that would be you. So you have a lot of great clients. I want to ask you about another client that you have Aidan. Now, I saw his before and after picture on your website also, and he's pretty amazing because is this the true story that he started training and 12 months later was his first contest, his first competition?
Yeah. Well, it was actually shorter than 12 months. He came to see me in February 2009 was the first time he ever came to see me, and we sat down, and he was kind of shy at the start, where I could see it in his face, so he wanted to compete. He was kind of going around the topic and saying, maybe one day I'll be able to get up on stage, and basically called him on and said, you really want to compete, if that's what you want to do, let's aim for that. And he's like, okay, well, let's do it. So he started out on this journey, and the first comp he did was in October 2009, so it was a little under 12 months. The thing about Aidan, once he got his mindset right, everything just started to happen, because he was one of those guys where he's kind of self-sabotaging himself. He would go home every night. I said to him, this is exactly what you need to do. You train you train as hard as you possibly can. Your nutrition, on the other hand, you're going home, and he was literally eating ice cream every night. And I said to him, okay, so here's the deal. You like ice cream more than you like competing, and that's just the way it is. Like, I'm not judging you for it. I'm not saying you're a bad person, but let's be real. You're never gonna compete if you keep eating ice cream, just because you want it and you like it. It's not going to happen. You need to accept that. You need to cut the ice cream out. And once you get that out, you do the right things with your nutrition and diet, you'll be able to compete. But until you make that shift, it's not going to happen. And he kind of I said to him, he said the turning point, and there's a video of him saying this on YouTube, but he said the turning point for him was when I put it back on him, and I said, no, you're the one who needs to do this. So as soon as he started taking responsibility for his results, that's when the magic really started to happen. And that's one of the keys with most people, is that you really need, as a trainer, you need to get them, the client who you're working with, to own up to what they're actually doing. And once they own up, that's when the magic can happen.
Mm-hmm. I like that. When they own up, that's when the magic can happen. Now, do you have a tip? I want to ask you, do you have a tip for someone who's aspiring to compete, that person who's like on the fence, like he was, like, maybe I'll compete one day, maybe I'll train for that competition? Do you have any tips or advice for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Make a decision. This decision comes from the word, to cut off and to kill all other options. So once you really decide that, this is something that you want to do, well then, don't let anyone in the world stop you. That's you just got to focus. You just got to say, all right, now's the time. Now I'm going to do it. I mean, that'd probably be the most important thing. And I know it's kind of like people like, isn't there some supplement or some nutrition advice or some training tip you can give me? Yeah, that absolutely. That's all there as well. The first thing though is to get your mindset right. If your mindset is half and half about competing, let's be honest, you probably won't compete, because it does take a lot of work, hard effort, and I'm not ever going to lie to anyone about that. It's not an overnight thing where you just get someone up on stage all of a sudden. Even with Aidan, it did take it. It took under 12 months, but it still took a few months. And that was hard work, training at the gym 5 days a week, and doing all the right things with your nutrition to get in that type of shape. So the first thing is to make the decision. Once you make the decision, be clear on what date you want to do it. The other real key thing that I don't think is talked enough about bodybuilding, get in shape first and then do a comp. Don't get in shape to do a comp, if that makes sense. Most people,
yes.
When they're not competing, they're 15 kilos heavier than what they need to be, and they kind of make the theory that they're bulking and they're on a bulk diet. Well, I really disagree completely with the whole bulk theory, just simply because accumulating excessive amounts of fat does nothing for the body. It just actually hinders the body, if anything. Your insulin sensitivity, obviously doesn't work as well, which actually hinders your ability to pack on muscle. So, the majority of people who I train and advise do stay fairly lean, unless they have a fixation on getting really, really, really big, in which case I tell them that. I say I've got a good relationship with my clients, so I tell them straight out that they're fat and they need to lose some weight, because I go, it's not healthy what they're doing, and I let them know straight away, and I go, it's actually not even beneficial for them to compete putting on that much weight. Again, if you're starting out with, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend just the other day, but if I compete, I used to compete and I'd start 15 kilos heavier than what I was, so I'd have to lose 15 kilos to get in shape, which in 12 weeks is kind of taxing on the body. Now, if I was to compete, I'd only need to lose 5 kilos, so I can get in shape, within 5 weeks, not even that, so it really changes the game, and it makes competing a lot more important, and it's just all around healthier. It should be, my focus is always on a healthy lifestyle, and not a temporary event that someone's going to have, a memory of, and, they look at those photos and they're kind of idolizing and fantasizing about how they looked and how they felt at that time when, they really struggled to get in that kind of shape, and that's just simply because they started behind the 8 ball.
I like that. I like the way you put that. So don't get in shape for the competition. Be in shape.
And then do the comp.
And then do the comp. I like that. Now, there's another quote on your website from the Possibility Thinking, and the book written by Napoleon Hill, The Think and Grow Rich. I like this. I like that book too. But on your website, you have the quote, your life is based on the quality of the questions that lead to the intended result. And I like asking questions. That's what I do to get all the information from experts like yourself. But there's another quote that I want to mention because it kind of goes with what you were just saying. To know and not do is to not really know. So, like you said, you can know all that information on how to train and how to eat, but then if you don't do it, you don't do it. So you might as well not know anything if you're not going to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
So you are a certified strength coach, level 2. Tell me about your certification.
I'm certified with the Poliquin Institute, so it's PIPC, so it's Poliquin International Certified Program. I went over to Canada to do my certification, but the Poliquin Institute and Charles Poliquin runs them runs the PICP courses and the biosignature courses, which I also do, all over the world. So Charles Poliquin, for people who don't know, I am a student of Charles. He's, in my opinion, obviously, he's one of the best strength coaches in the world. He's been responsible for, I think, now over 400 Olympic athletes. He's trained, obviously, movie stars, NHL, a lot of people in hockey, football, American football. He's consulted with a lot of people over the world. So I guess now his focus is to teach strength coaches like myself and trainers like myself. And, so I did my certifications with Charles Poliquin. And, for anyone out there who's wanting to get into the industry, or who already is in the industry, I'd highly recommend the courses, Poliquin's courses, because they are first class, and you are really getting information. And I guess the thing that attracted me most about Charles, again, it comes back to that saying, to know and not to do is not really to know. To me, I look for the people who are actually doing and producing results, and because that's where I want to go. So I saw what he was doing and how much success he's had. And, it is a big part of that is about modeling. So, finding someone who's in your industry who you can actually model and learn from. And that's why I sought out Charles and went over to Canada and, I absolutely, do as many courses a year as I can with Charles to keep my knowledge up to date and keep learning from other people to, bring my game to a higher level and do it that way. So, yeah, absolutely great certifications, the PICP courses. So, yeah, that's something I'll look to do even more of in the future.
Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about that course compared to other courses, but I think you just said it all. There's probably no comparison. So let me get on to your other...
Well, I'll just add one other thing. With his courses, this is just for me anyway, I walked out and I had things to apply. And anytime you have things to apply, it's a good course, because at the end of the day, you can bring more to your clients. If it's kind of like an airy-fairy, untangible thing, you get the warm and fuzzy feelings, but how good can you actually, what are you actually going to apply on Monday morning? So
right.
That's the difference.
Right. Yeah, I like that too. So I do want to talk about your books. And you've written a lot, written several ebooks. I want to ask you one by one because I want everyone to know exactly what each book is about. Your one book, The Truth About Supplements. Tell us about that one.
Well, that's actually a two-book series, The Truth About Supplements. So there's The Truth About Health Supplements, and then there's The Truth About Sports Supplements. So I'll start with The Truth About Health Supplements. The Truth About Health Supplements is all about just that, health supplements. It was actually has a foreword in it by none other than Dr. Johnny Bowden, who himself has written 9 books. So it's very excited to get a foreword by Johnny because I absolutely love his work and been a big fan of him for years. But yeah, The Truth About Health Supplements just looks at that topic. So there are a lot of health brands out there and a lot of supplement brands that claim to, improve your health, give you better vitality, more energy, pay your taxes and fix your marriage, and it's like, well, how on earth can you possibly make that claim? Where does that actually come from? And is it true? Can you have that big of an impact on someone's health? So it really discusses and looks at that topic. What vitamins might help you in terms of your health. What would be the best vitamins to take for that reason? So I've got a whole listing of your vitamins from basically your B's to A vitamins to your C vitamins. In that book, I talk a lot about green drinks as well. So I think in that one I put the chapter on protein the chapter of proteins in the Truth About Sports Supplements. So it originally was one book, and then I brought it into 2 books because it was just simply too big to put into one book. Mm-hmm. In the Truth About Sports Supplements, I covered the sports supplement industry. So I talk a lot about protein powders, creatine, beta-alanine, glutamine, L-carnitine, all the ones that are more used for sport specifically than general well-being. The general well-being supplements are in the Truth About Health Supplements. The sports supplements are in the Truth About Sports Supplements. Also in the Truth About Health Supplements, I cover things like anti-estrogen products, which they're probably one of the biggest supplements that aren't talked about a lot. And I guess the reason for that is just a lot of people don't know how harmful phytoestrogens actually are. So I've dedicated just a chapter to discussing that because those type of supplements, I think there's going to be a huge boom once people start to really get educated on the estrogens. Well, at least in Australia, the estrogens in our environment are absolutely shocking. I think America is much of the same, but we do spray our crops with a lot of pesticides, and pesticides will act as phytoestrogens inside the body, which is very harmful because there is, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was watching a documentary a while ago. It's called The Disappearing Male, and there's a huge decline in the male population across all species. And what it's actually been linked to is the increasing toxins in our environment because they're much more harmful to the male reproductive system and to the female. Not to say the females aren't getting harmed, they are. That's why the need for things like anti-estrogen. So in my opinion, that's going to be a growing supplement tier or category in the near future. But I think it's just more of a matter of people catching on and actually realizing. And once they do catch on, people are going to be pretty angry because the government's using basically chemicals that haven't been tested, and all of which haven't been tested on children. So the next generation's up and coming, obviously going to be harmed by that even more. So I think there's going to be some prices to pay in the future. But yeah, I digress.
That's interesting. So that's in the Truth About Health Supplements? That's in the Truth About Health Supplements, yeah. That's interesting. I can't wait to read that.
Yeah. In the Truth About Sports Supplements, I talk more about the marketing ploys of the supplement industry because, let's face it, with a name like the Truth About Supplements, some people think it's an anti-supplementation book. It's not. I use supplements like daily. I use them all the time. I use multiple supplements. What I am dead against is supplement companies that claim to do absolutely everything and basically take, for lack of a better word, take people's money, this has been happening since the 1960s with Joe Weider and Bob Hoffman, and that is they get athletes who are clearly using anabolic steroids. In their magazine, they tell people not to use anabolic steroids, and then they promote their supplements. So a naive reader, let's say someone who's 18 or doesn't know much about the industry, picks up this magazine, sees these products, and then walks into their favorite supplement shop and then turns around to the counter and says, I want a supplement, but I don't want to look like this guy. It's like newsflash. Even if you took everything in the store, you still wouldn't look like that guy. That guy is on a lot of anabolic steroids, and he's probably not even taking the supplement, which it is a sad truth. Those models are obviously paid.
Right.
to sell those supplements, and very rarely do you get a real endorsement from that. And I mean, that's been happening since the 1960s. And that, I mean, there's another book that I can kind of mention to your listeners that talks about this really in depth, and that's Muscle, Smoke and Mirrors by Randy Roach. And so
yeah, that's a good one too. So your other book, the Alpha Body Program, let's talk about that one.
The Alpha Body Program is basically an online and offline delivered program. So when someone signs up to the Alpha Body, the first thing they get is I send them out an actual physical manual, and in the physical manual there's basically almost every article that I've ever written inside there. So it actually sends out in hard copy, so some people have it to keep for the rest of their lives. And
I want one to keep for the rest of my life.
I'll send one to you. So, it's everything I've written. I have chapters on how carbohydrates digest in the body, how fats digest in the body, stuff on supplements, stuff on training, a lot of stuff on training, stuff on motivation, some personal stories as well that I haven't actually put on the internet before. So there's lots of stuff there. And the reason I do it out in print, again, so people can actually keep it and have something physical, because I think now everything's moving online. People are missing the physical element of things. So, kind of go back to basics in a little bit. So then in that, they also get 5 months of programs. So, I speak to you over Skype or speak to you on the phone, depending on where you're located in the world.
Nice.
You email me, I see what you need, if it's fat loss or if it's muscle gains, and I basically structure your training for 5 months. So, I do your program for the first month. I check in, how was your program? Was it good? What did you need? Was it too hard? Was it too easy? Et cetera, et cetera. Then I'd write your second program and so forth. So it's an ongoing program in which I'm able to help you actually achieve your goals wherever you are in the world. So yeah, it's kind of neat because I get to interact with a lot of different people from all over the place and help them achieve their goals.
Yeah, and you really are there for your clients no matter where they are. I want to ask you about your other book, but before that, I want to mention to everyone your website, maximusmark.com. You even have a section on there called Ask Mark. So that's great that people can ask any question and you can get back to them with the right answer to keep them on track. So I like that. Maximusmark.com, just to let everybody know that again. Your other book, Eat Your Way to Abs. Now, of course, I think everybody wants to know, what is that book about?
That's actually a free one, so anyone can go get on eatyourwaytoabs.com.au or even just .com. Go on there and just put their name and email in and download it. What that book's about is, there's a lot of confusion. It's kind of the myth-busting book where people talk, you need to count calories. By the way, I'm not a calorie counter at all. I look at people, where are they getting their foods from? Are they getting their foods from hunted fish gathered and plucked places, or like natural, or are they getting their foods from refined sugars and carbohydrates and processed fatty food, hydrogenated oil fatty foods? So that's what that book's about. It's a lot of myth busting and showing people that you actually, like, as funny as the name sounds, you can eat your way to abs, eating the right foods, and most people find that. I had one client who's 61 and he now just turned 62. And he said to me, look, I really want to lose a bit more weight. And I wrote him out the plan that I'll give him, very similar to the plan that's in Eat Your Way to Abs. And he goes, this is the third day in, he goes, this is ridiculous. I've never eaten this much food in my life, yet I'm 2 kilos lighter. That was after a week, he said it was 2 kilos lighter. And I go, yeah, it's crazy, because once you really understand how the body works, you understand it's a game. And, people who starve themselves actually make it harder for them to lose weight. You don't need to go on a soup. And I mean, there's plenty of documentation. I mean, the Obesity Handbook in 1998, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it basically says, there's a quote in there that I pulled out for seminars that says, calorie-restricted diets have been implemented, but yet have always failed to work and produce results long term. So in other words, they might work in the short term, but most people don't want to be on a semi-starvation diet where they have to count calories. And that's what really Eat Your Way to Abs is telling people. It's not telling people to be gluttons. Let's just be clear on that.
Right. No, eat all the ice cream you want and then try to train like that one client, right? You got to cut out the ice cream. So Eat Your Way to Abs, you can get that free ebook on eatyourwaytoabs.com, is it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Now, I do want to ask you, you are a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner.
Yeah.
Tell us what that is.
NLP, well, NLP is basically, think of it as the communication with the mind. So, hey, it's really tools to help someone communicate more effectively, not only with others, but also with themselves. So, basically like I would say, you're a product of your environment. How you speak to yourself is going to dictate what you do in your life. And, as we said before, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. So it's really at taking control and understanding how the mind actually works and stating things how you want them to happen and communicating with people more effectively. So I look at it as a tool to help, say things to clients and word them in a way that's going to produce the right result. So that's how I use it. I don't use the aspect of NLP where people get into coaching or that type of thing. I mean, there are some coaching tools that I think are really great for trainers and people who do a lot of consulting work to use and get involved in that. But I think the real magic in it is understanding the languaging and how different language for different people works. And it might be such a subtle thing, but it can actually motivate someone and inspire them so much more than just saying it the way you normally would. So it's really tailoring your language to get a result for someone and bring them to where they want to be and understanding where they are. Yeah.
Exactly. Now that is what makes you a successful trainer, and that is what makes your clients successful, because you not only say what works for them, and they say what works for them to themselves, so to speak. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for that. I want to ask you real quick about, you give seminars?
Yeah. I've done a few seminars. I have two main seminars that I do. I'm looking to write up more soon, but the main seminar is Eat Your Way to Abs, named after the book, and the other one is the Ultimate Training Seminar. But in Eat Your Way to Abs, I basically take topics that are in the book and really elaborate them. I talk a lot about supplements as well. I talk about soil. I have a whole module on insulin and how that works in the body and looking at that, bust myths. I try and make it as interactive as possible. So at the very start of every seminar I do, I go, okay, tell me guys, if today was the best day of your life that you ever spent on nutrition and training, what do you need to learn? What do you want to walk out with? So I always approach things like that. I let whoever's in the room tell me what they want to learn. And then, if I don't know it, I the next day I go out and look it up to make sure I know it next time. But, they tell me what they want to learn. And again, using the skills of NLP as well, I make sure I communicate that effectively enough so that people actually go out and apply it. Because again, as we said before, to know or not to do is not really to know. So my goal for every seminar is that people actually walk out and they apply what I've told them. So I also have a module just on, the module's called Healthy Identity, where I ask questions about people's lives and I get them to write it down. So, how they spend their time, how they fill their space and all these type of things to get centered where they are actually at life, what they're doing with their life currently, and will that lead to the result they want to? If it's not, I help them realize that, okay, what you're doing right now isn't going to lead to the result you want. You need to step it up, or you need to do X, Y, and Z to get the result that you want. So it's a really good seminar. I love running it, and it's definitely running more of them in the future.
Now, I want to let everyone know that you have written you've taught at the Australian Institute of Fitness, and you've also written articles that have appeared in Natural Bods magazine and Muscle Mag, with your interviews and features on bodybuilders in Australia. MaximusMark.com. We just have 1 minute left, so I want to ask Mark if you will give our listeners one more fitness tip. What's one tip that they can't live without?
One tip, okay. Probably the biggest fitness tip, I'll give you two, right? The biggest fitness tip in nutrition is to simply, every time you look at a piece of food, say, would a caveman or woman have access to this food? If the answer is no, don't eat it. So in other words, if man made it, don't eat it, as the late Jack LaLanne would say. And tip number 2 would be when you go inside the gym, start implementing a tempo. And what I mean by tempo is with your training. If you're doing bench press, make every rep look the same. The way you can do that is make sure when you're lowering the weight, you lower at the same speed every rep, and you come up the same. So look up tempos. It's basically the way I look at tempos is there's 4 numbers involved, but you want roughly around 4 to 3 seconds lowering and a 1 second, or as fast as you can, raising the bar. Okay, and if you implement a tempo like that in all exercises, you're really doing yourself a benefit. You're engaging all of your muscles, and you're probably going to do the exercise a lot better as well. So I mean, I've got heaps of videos on Maximus Mark that talk about form and explain that as well. But implement a tempo with your training. The biggest thing I see when I walk through the gym is people rushing their weights and pumping the bar up and down as fast as they can. Implement a tempo, and your body will thank you for it.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned raising the bar, you're talking about bench press, but I just want to mention raising the bar, and that's what I want to encourage everyone to do, is raise the bar according to your fitness plan. Always step it up a notch and never get stale in your workout. So, Maximus Mark Ottobre from Melbourne, Australia. I want to thank you so much for joining us on Health Fitness Broadcast, and it has been a joy, an absolute joy to have you on. Thank you. It's time for us to say goodbye, so we'll catch you next time.
As we say goodbye, I'd like to remind you to take some time to relax, to reflect back on the success of your day. Enjoy that good, positive feeling of knowing you're doing everything you can to take care of your health.